This is lesson 9-6, the quadratic formula and the discriminant. So now you're in the given situation. You're on the Regents exam or your final exam. You have to solve a quadratic equation. You're looking at it, you can't remember how to factor it. The square root method isn't working nicely. It's got to be done algebraically, so you can't do it graphically. What do? You can go to the foolproof method. The quadratic formula is a formula that can be used to find the solutions to any quadratic equation whatsoever. The quadratic formula is as follows. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Obviously, you cannot use this formula unless your quadratic function or equation is in proper standard form. So let's do a couple of examples using the quadratic formula. I'll do a guided example with you, and then you could do one on your own. The first thing I always do is I go off to the side and I write my values for a, b, and c. So in this case, with x squared minus 12x minus 13, a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 12, and c is equal to negative 13. That's extremely important. Now, x equals negative 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared. So when I square negative 12 in my calculator, I get 144. Minus 4 times a is 4 times c is negative 52, so minus a negative 52 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So let's go further and simplify this. So negative 12 becomes positive 12 plus or minus the square root of 144 minus a negative 52 gives me a positive 196 over 2. The square root of 196 is 14. So this is now equal to 12. Remember, I got two answers here, so I'm going to split them up now. 12 plus 14 over 2, and 12 minus 14 over 2. 12 plus 14 is 26, divided by 2 is 13. 12 minus 14 is a negative 2, divided by 2, negative 1. There are my two answers for x. X equals 13, x equals negative 1. Try doing this example on your own. Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do it. All right, here we go. X equals negative 50 plus or minus the square root of negative 50 squared is 2,500 minus 4 times a times c. So I have minus and then 4 times negative 16 times 21 gives me a negative 1,344 all over 2 times negative 16 which is negative 32. This is now a lot to simplify, but it needs to be done. This is why knowing your factoring is a much better idea. So now I have 50 plus or minus the square root of $38.44 over negative 32. When you take the square root of 38.44, that gives you 62. So we now have 50 plus 62 over negative 32 and 50 minus 62 over negative 32. When I simplify this, I get x equal to negative 3.5 and x equal to 0.375. If you left it in fraction form, what you've done is you got negative 3.5 and 3/8 for the other side. But these are acceptable answers. A lot of work to do if you don't remember your factoring. Let's talk about the discriminant and what it tells you for each quadratic function and equation. The discriminant is the expression that's under the radical sign in the quadratic formula. The discriminant tells you how many real solutions that you will have for any quadratic equation. Remember what's under the radical sign in the quadratic formula. The discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. Copy down the chart that's going to come up here because this is what the discriminant will tell you. If your discriminant value is greater than 0, you'll have 2 real solutions. If your discriminant value is equal to 0, you'll have 1 real solution. And if your discriminant value is less than 0, you will have no real solutions. Here's an example. How many real solutions does 2x squared minus 3x equal negative 5 have? Pause the video at this point to give yourself a chance to do the problem. So the first thing you should be doing is moving the negative 5 over so that your quadratic equation is in the standard form. It should be 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals 0. Then substitute it in the discriminant. b squared minus 4 times a times c. Then simplify. Negative 3 squared is 9. 4 times 2 times 5 is 40. 9 minus 40 gives me negative 31. That's less than 0, so I will have no real solutions. If you're having any issues with this particular lesson, please make sure you consult your teacher in class.